A man's drive is a double-edged sword. It can forge empires or shatter souls. For centuries, we've been told ambition is a virtue, a noble pursuit of greatness. But for the modern man, this narrative is incomplete, even dangerous. It fails to acknowledge the true, often brutal, engine beneath the surface. Ambition is not merely a desire to achieve. It is a primal hunger, a ceaseless striving that demands to be understood before it consumes. It is the whisper of potential that can drive a man to the stars, or the gnawing emptiness that sends him spiraling into self-destruction. We are taught to chase goals, to climb ladders, to acquire status and wealth. These are the outward manifestations of ambition, the glittering prizes. But the inward reality is far more complex. The modern man is bombarded with messages that tell him to reach higher, to never settle. But what is the cost of this perpetual reaching? What is left behind in the relentless pursuit? Ambition, unchecked, is a form of self-deception. It promises fulfillment at a future destination, a tomorrow that is perpetually out of reach. The man trapped in this cycle lives a life of constant dissatisfaction, always looking ahead, never truly present. He sacrifices relationships, health, and inner peace on the altar of future success, only to find that the success itself brings no lasting contentment. The hunger merely shifts its target. Consider the relentless drive of a predator. It is not fueled by a moral imperative, but by a biological necessity. So too, a man's ambition often stems from a deeper, more elemental source. A need to prove, to secure, to transcend limitations, whether real or perceived. This drive can be channeled into immense creation, but it can also lead to ruthless exploitation, to stepping over others, to betraying principles in the name of progress. The history of men is littered with the ruins of ambitions that cared little for the collateral damage. The question every man must ask himself is not if he is ambitious, but what kind of ambition drives him? Is it an ambition born of genuine purpose and contribution? Or is it a frantic attempt to fill an inner void? This requires a level of introspection few are willing to undertake. The easy path is to accept the societal script of success, to keep running on the treadmill, to avoid confronting the true nature of the beast within. Marcus Aurelius, facing the immense pressures of ruling an empire, understood this internal struggle. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This is not merely a call to virtue, but a recognition that true progress lies not in the endless pursuit of external validation, but in the internal mastery of one's own nature. For a man, ambition is his nature, but his mastery lies in how he directs it. This mastery demands sacrifice. It requires the sacrifice of ego, the sacrifice of fleeting pleasure, and most importantly, the sacrifice of the illusion that he is in complete control. True control is not about dominating the external world, but about governing the internal landscape, the desires, fears, and urges that fuel ambition. It means understanding that the relentless need for gain is often a symptom of a deeper emptiness, not a path to fulfillment. A man might build a company, a career, even a legacy. He might achieve the outward signs of success that society applauds. But if this ambition is a frantic flight from himself, if it is driven by a fear of inadequacy, then the foundation is hollow. The empire he builds will crumble from within, or he will find himself utterly alone at its apex, haunted by the ghosts of what he sacrificed. So, what are the hard truths about masculine ambition? First, it is inherently selfish. Even the most altruistic ambitions are, at their core, driven by the man's own desire for purpose, for impact, for legacy. This is not a condemnation, but an observation. Recognizing this selfishness allows for its management rather than its denial. Second, it is often fueled by insecurity. The need to prove oneself, to achieve what others have not, is a powerful motivator, but it is born from a place of lacking. A man secure in his own worth has ambition, but it does not possess him. It is a tool, not a master. Third, it thrives in the absence of direct competition, but it is ultimately a competition against oneself. The true measure of a man's ambition is not how he fares against rivals, but how he measures up against the potential that lies dormant within him, the potential he might be too afraid to unleash. It is the quiet war fought in the mind, between the man he is and the man he could become. Fourth, its highest expression is not in acquisition, but in creation and service, when it is aligned with something larger than the self. But this alignment requires a profound degree of self-awareness. Without it, ambition becomes a runaway train, leaving destruction in its wake. It becomes a quest for status, a blind lust for power, a desperate attempt to be seen and admired regardless of the cost. Fifth, and perhaps most critically, true mastery of ambition means accepting its duality. It means embracing the hunger while simultaneously guarding against its destructive impulses. It means understanding that the greatest achievements are often born from periods of intense discipline, focus, and even enforced idleness, where the soul has time to catch up with the relentless pace of the mind. This is the uncomfortable reality that polite society and many self-help gurus refuse to address. They offer platitudes about passion and dreams. But the reality for a man is that ambition is a fire that must be carefully stoked, not allowed to rage unchecked. It requires a cold, clear-eyed assessment of its power and its peril. It demands the courage to confront the darker impulses that drive it and the discipline to forge them into something constructive. The man who understands his ambition is not its slave. He wields it. He channels its energy into meaningful work, into building, into protecting, into leaving a mark that is not born of ego, but of purpose. He recognizes that the peak of his ambition is not a summit to conquer, but a vantage point from which to serve. This requires an internal fortress. A man must build mental walls not of exclusion, but of discernment, allowing the noble aspects of his drive to flow through while containing the destructive urges. He must become the stoic guardian of his own soul, constantly vigilant, constantly refining his purpose. The relentless pursuit is not an end in itself, but a method to be employed with wisdom and restraint. The true prize is not the external victory, but the internal victory of self-mastery. He is not defined by his hunger, but by his discipline in feeding it. He is not broken by his drive, but built by his ability to direct it. He understands that the greatest ambition a man can have is the ambition to become a man of true character, a man who can harness the inferno within and use its heat to warm the world, not to burn it down. He does not chase the horizon. He shapes the land he stands upon. His ambition is not a storm to be weathered, but a current to be navigated with skill and purpose. The true measure of his drive is not in its intensity, but in its direction and the strength of the will that guides it. His legacy is not in what he conquered, but in what he built, guided by the silent, unwavering strength of a disciplined mind.